Hello, hello, Studio 108 Seekers and Sages, and welcome to Following. Today we have with us Cassandra Rose, who is someone so follow-worthy. I'm really proud and humbled and inspired by her. She took my advanced 500 level teacher training. What year was it, Cassandra?
Just what, 2 years ago?
Years ago. So
Well, yeah, 2019.
2019. And having come through that path with her and to know the sincerity in her heart and the dedication to her practice, and then to see 2 years later what has been birthed after that launching, really, like you get that graduation certificate and you complete one little thing, but it's the send off to all these really, really big things, which is why advanced teacher training is so exciting to me as a leader. But here we are, Cassandra Rose. Ta-da! And please tell us a little bit about yourself. I know your path, like mine, has been just a winding path of lesson after lesson, and kind of put that in a capsule for us so we can have a nice starting point.
Yeah. Before I start off on that, I just want to segue into the fact that, yes, our connection came with the teacher training, and I still wear this bracelet that you gifted all of us on the first day. I wear it every single day. So I just wanted to let you know that I carry that with me. It's been 2 years and it's always on my wrist. So, and I agree. I totally align with what you said about how the yoga teacher training is kind of like this launching pad, because it's like when you sign up for these big endeavors, you're kind of entering into this energetic like portal, like you're opening like an energetic portal to like that completely unlocks a whole new trajectory that you don't even know that you're entering into. And for me, I brought the yoga teacher training was I came into it with intentions for expanding my anatomy awareness and deepening into teaching and holding space. But specifically really wanted to hone in on my anatomy. And then what came from that journey was, just this epic awakening of like unraveling into the deepest parts of myself. And, I had so much pain, and my body, anatomy wise, my body went through injury and awakening, and like, oh, this isn't feeling good. How do I nurture my body? How do I bring myself back into alignment? And since then, I've brought so much transformation, energetic transformation in that teacher training. It's really we're learning how to teach ourselves,
I think maybe like the anatomy of life.
Yeah.
Such a deep dive into just all these. So share with people a couple of things, like what has journey been for you?
Yeah.
I mean, you're still so young, but like you packed a lot in those few years.
I would say so. I mean, my chapter in the book even starts like that. It's like, I should have known that my journey on this earth was not going to be an easy walk in the park, because I was born into this world with my legs, inward. And I spent the first 6 months of my life in casts, and I'm like, that should have been the like signaling that my life was not going to be a walk in the park. You know what I mean? But yes, I've lived quite an epic life. But I mean, where I've come now is just this recognition, this awareness of what humanity needs. And I'd say in a nutshell, it's like I birthed through so many portals in my own, struggling with a childhood cancer scare, which led to lots of surgeries starting at the age of 4, which led to extreme bullying because I had a scar down the middle of my face, which led to suicidal tendencies, onslaught of pharmaceutical drugs, panic and anxiety attacks, severe depression, lots of therapy, which then led me to literally in this obnoxious or almost obsessive need to find approval from other people, changing myself at a core just to be liked, just to not be bullied, just to be accepted, just to have people see me, accept me, like me, welcome me, include me. And that basically led to me just complete self-abandonment, and in that path, I kind of created a life that was completely unaligned with everything that I am, who I am. I took my little inner child who was so wounded and scarred, and I stuffed her in a box, and I said, nobody wants you. Everyone wants this. Everyone wants this version of you. Because once I started wearing makeup and showing up and telling everyone what they wanted to hear, people were like, oh yeah, we'll come and hang. That was right there. It was like this initial split moment of personality, authentic version, stuffed. Self the world wants to see. Here you go, here on a silver platter. And that leads to so much disease and disharmony within the body. And, I open up my chapter with the quote we've heard before of like, we abandon our souls because, we're afraid if we don't abandon them, others will abandon our souls and others will abandon us.
And that happened.
That is exactly what happened. That was my learned program, like the software that I downloaded and then ran my whole life on.
Right.
Right. So fast forward, I lost my mom, and then the lights came on, and it was like this slow unraveling and waking up to, oh, wow, hang on. And then this reclamation of self. And it was started very slowly. And I mean, all of us are on a path of ascension. It's like the spiral. It starts small and it gets wider and wider. And when we come back to the same triggers and issues and things, but we come back with a new evolved version of ourselves, a new up leveled, with all these different tools. But it's like the path of ascension began slow, and then it was like rapid fire. And I feel like my whole life just went up in flames until it was just this full on surrender to energy above and beyond and all around me and within me.
And I know
then an awakening.
You took even some time and space away from, like, you backed out of a lot of teaching, a lot of public presentation, kind of went into yourself for that time. And I want people to know that. Maybe you could speak a little bit about that, because I get chills at how very painful and uniquely painful your story is. It's also the story of many of us. And with so many starseeds, just young, beautiful people who are coming into a world that's not quite ready for them, I think they hear you, and I think they will hear you, or they're hearing you.
Whoever is meant to hear it will hear it, right?
Yeah. And I think with so much social media and so much public eye on our lives, tell me a little bit about this withdrawal that you've taken in the past couple of years.
I truly believe that shadow work and going into the depths of yourself and into the darkness is like an absolute necessity to ultimately transforming your life and creating that inner alchemy, that inner transformation. And I just posted this recently. I'm like, our lives can only expand to the depths in which we are willing to go inward. And so many of us are where we're at right now and wanting to create something, wanting to call in something, wanting to be somewhere, become something, call in all these things.
Manifest. Everybody wants to manifest.
Yes. Manifest. It's almost like, and like, I love quantum manifestation and creating your life by design, and 100% back up. There's a lot of misconceptions around it. And us as a society and a culture, we look to that, create that massive expansion. I can see it, I can vision board it, but I'm like, you can't hold that capacity. The manifestation at a root is emotional mastery and the ability to hold more life. But you cannot hold that energetic vibration and frequency and more life without first clearing out everything that's inside. And that's the part that's to wrap back to your question, is that's the part where you have to kind of disconnect from everything, and you need to go inside and you need to unpack the box. I need to go back into that inner child that I was like, you're not allowed. No one wants you. You're not welcome. And remember what she wants. Like, who are you here to be? And then re-anchor into that.
Re-anchor, and like that's the root system, is that truth of who we are. Like when you said you had a reclamation, like a reclaiming, a bringing back, you rooted into that. And we can't really do that simultaneously to being out on Facebook. And we have to like turn in and have that inner time for ourselves. And it's precious, but it's such a challenge in this day and age to give ourselves permission for that and create space and time for that. So I really appreciate you being open with your story and bringing that forward. I want to hear more about the book. Before we talk about your chapter, would you tell us a little bit about Mary Magdalene and what that energy essence is and how your relationship with her is developed?
It's interesting because I unknowingly had this connection to the Mary Magdalene energy, but it wasn't super present with me when I became part of this book. And it was just more so that all of these little synchronicities led me to being in this book that led to a whole body. Yes, this is it. It has arrived on a silver platter. Like, it's been made for you. Go into this energetic contract and portal and just do it. And then as I was birthing it, I started realizing, wow, this energy has actually been with me for so long, since my childhood. And I remember seeing the book title, and I don't have the book title with me because the physical copy will be available this month on the 19th of July.
And the title of the book is?
It's Magdalene Rising, Feminine Leaders, Guided by Her Fierce and Unconditional Wisdom. And it tells the story of, it's a multi-author book, and it tells the story of 29 incredible women who are all out there in the world, who have overcome their own life challenges and have taken their deepest, darkest pains and transmuted them, alchemized them into their greatest power, and are now leading as these fierce, feminine leaders, women that in their own unique magic, people who are doing yoga and shamanism and crystals and all of this epic work in their own unique way. And they're disrupting, old societal and cultural patterns and breaking the rules and, of the way we've been taught in a patriarchal top-down society of structure, and starting to anchor into the new feminine way, this new epoch of time that we're in, this new age of Aquarius, this feminine collaboration, a whole new energy. But for me, and that's kind of the crucial bridge of why Magdalene Rising, why that makes sense here, is Magdalene Rising, the Mother Mary, the Magdalene energy, the birthing of something new, but doing it with grace and eloquence, but yet potency. And
because Mary Magdalene is a very powerful mystic.
Very, very much so.
Yeah, and her texts have been brought forward, like we have discovered, and they're translating and bringing forward her teachings.
Yes, so and there's
a powerful mystic.
So there's so much lineage packed into her life and to her impact, but yet so much grace, so much, the femininity is there, that mother energy, this nurturing, this rebirthing. And like, if we can embody those pieces in our life, with not only with ourselves, but with everyone that we interact with on a daily basis, to be able to really anchor into that feminine part of ourselves that is able to be gentle and unconditional, but yet fierce in the fact that we can birth something new and go through that, right? And so it's funny. So like I said, it's like I didn't have this connection until I birthed my chapter. And then I realized I have had my lineage is my last name is Rose, which was my middle name, passed down through the feminine lineage, Rose, but always a middle name. But my grandma Gelhard, her first name was Rose, and my mom's handwriting is actually still on the back here, Grandma Gelhard's, and this was literally made from wood and paste for Sacred Congregation of Rites for the Blessing of Indulgence in Spain. And this beautiful, she has been hanging in my room since I was a wee little girl, always amongst my jewelry. And now she hangs amongst my crystals. And what's funny is I was raised Catholic, but never in like it was more so like, we have to go to church, so because we have to do that, but it wasn't like an embodied Catholicism, but I still associated with her with Catholicism, but she always there. And I would stand there and I would trace her skin when I was a child and just be like, what beauty, what awe. And I have her hanging amongst my crystals now that I adorn myself with to feel like just this goddess energy every day. And all of a sudden I'm looking, and I didn't really know what my connection was, except that I always had to have her throughout all my moves, moving multiple states, moving across the country, landing here. And now all of a sudden I'm sitting in bed and I'm typing up my chapter, and I look across my room at my bathroom and my crystals, and I see her and I'm like, wait a minute. Whoa, like full circle, like Mother Mary, like Mary and Mary Magdalene energy has been with me, infusing into me unknowingly, like my whole life.
Yeah.
And now I'm birthing out this book, this chapter.
Yeah. It's divine design, it's divine design. This is the return. These are the return years of feminine energy. And I know, one of the things that's so exciting to me through my Kundalini tradition is this coming forward into the Aquarian age with more consciousness in all the things we do. So whether you're a yoga teacher or an accountant or an IT person, like whatever you do, bringing consciousness to that.
Yes.
So like here you are coming forward with this book as a writer, and you're bringing consciousness to that and bringing and infusing and serving through all gifts and talents. And that's really like, for me, the beauty of this awakening is that it's not limited to just the yogis talking about Mary Magdalene or the girls with oils and crystals talking about it. It's all of us bringing it forward and turning the volume up on that kind of power, that feminine power, that's not a pushback to the patriarchy, but a really reclamation of our inner selves, and having done that work and then standing up and stepping forward in a way that comes from our authenticity rather than our masks.
So well said.
Really, well, because you've embodied it. I'm just like, let me tie it up with a bow. This is exactly what I hear you saying to me. So yeah, yes. Really beautiful. And the fact that that lineage actually was never lost, like Rose, like you were never alone.
Right.
Like
right.
That passing down of this beautiful placard of Mary Magdalene, you were never without her. And just the awareness, and then the way the light shines and where the stars align and they say, now's the time, my child. I'm so thrilled for you for picking up that baton, for picking up the cue and saying, yes, I think what you said was, fuck yes, I'm birthing it.
Yeah, that is exactly, it's the whole body, fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's what she told me. I was like, okay, well, let's capture that. we all want to feel a little bit of that. So congratulations. I know that we would like to hear a little bit about your success, because one thing that you and I touched on prior was this idea of, you talked about the manifesting and being prepared to manifest by having done the work. And tell me about this book launch, and what have you been caught up in? What's the energy been like? How's it rolling for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been this, I guess what I'd like to tie in too is what you mentioned before is the consciousness piece and bringing the consciousness in. And I feel like the expansion of my consciousness has offered me this new lens of looking at life and constantly looking at myself. And so taking that and infusing that into how we approach this is I feel like I just keep deepening more and more and more into myself as I ride this wave of the book, and recognizing how far I've come and where it's taken me and where I'm going, and trying to, like we said earlier, and manifesting, hold more life, hold more capacity, because birthing this book was a grueling endeavor, and as for myself, but then it went out, and I always wanted to be a writer, and I always did. I would birth books when I was a child. Like I would write feverishly. Was literally like taping and gluing and stapling and illustrating and making these books as a child, which then I ended up going on to write in high school, and I never had a problem meeting that 2 to 3 page minimum. It was more so like, hey, Cass, let's sit down. You wrote 10 pages and I can't keep up. You know what I mean? Like, and then to starting 2 blogs and staying up until, at the backlight of my computer in college and writing, just writing. And so now this book opportunity comes along, and I'm like, yes. And, the ability to hold more life. And it's like this simultaneous, like, you've always wanted this. Now you did it. I would remember very vividly hitting submit, that it would send off to the publisher and the editor to have the edits, and then just feeling this overwhelming numbness. Like, that's not how I thought I was going to feel. Mm-hmm. And it was like this birthing, but then having your child being taken away while it goes to the ICU, and you don't see your kid or something, it's like I birthed it. Now it's off to the editor. Now I guess I just sit here and twiddle my thumbs. Yeah. To then moving into launch week and like, oh my God, this is happening. This is crazy. We, hitting #1 in multiple different categories, and just being #1 next to a Neil Donald Walsh book, and, mysticism, and to, wow, people around the whole world are reading this, to no, that's just seems surreal. That no, nobody's really, like, I don't, and it's just like this constant ping pong between the back and forth between, this is amazing. You have manifested this. You have been wanting this. You've been creating this. You have set yourself up for this. You called in this opportunity. This is happening. You did it. You did what you said you always wanted to do. And now it's happening. And now you're finding ways to self-sabotage it. Now you're finding ways to not ride that high frequency energy. Now you're finding ways to, in other aspects of your life, dim the light, not hold as much. And there's this, it brings you back to the capacity to hold more, the capacity to feel success, embrace success, harness success, and embody it and live it continuously as a new foundation, rather than, oh, I'm just going to dip my foot in and feel that high vibrational energy. I equate it to wearing sunglasses, like, where so much light, you achieve so much of what you wanted, what you desire, and all this extra light starts to pour in. And then you're like, it's too bright. Give me the sunglasses. You know what I mean? This is too much. Let me numb out. Yeah. And then you recognize your capacity to expand, to then be able to hold it as a foundational vibrational frequency, which becomes your new foundation moving forward.
Exactly. And Kundalini, we talk about, like, the architecture of the aura has to be strong to hold the quantity that you're seeking. Mm-hmm. And so if you haven't done that inner work, if you haven't cleared out that stuff, you're not going to be strong enough to hold what you manifest anyway.
Exactly.
So I know when I'm working with putting the studio together and launching the studio, I can feel the edges where I'm strong enough to hold this and to write these checks and to have all of this going on and to make these choices. And then one day I wake up and I'm like, ugh, nobody's working today. And I kind of feel it collapsing. And I'm like, no,
Mhm.
you have to really do your practices I have to do my practices every day
Yeah.
to kind of stay in that place where I am living that best that I want for myself. And
Yes.
those subconscious patterns of sabotage, of sunglasses, of
Mhm.
whatever it is, those don't get the energy because I'm so dialed into that frequency that I
Yeah.
hold as a foundational pattern of success.
And you said something to like a specific word, and it it's that contracting, and recognizing though that on the path of manifestation and the path of creating and playing in the quantum and creating and holding more light and all of that is that we live in this in a third dimensional reality, and that is the reality of polarity, of black and white, of positive and negative, in this whole full scale of like emotional scale and frequency and vibration. And it's like, yes, your capacity to hold more light, but then recognizing when you are contracting, that you allow yourself to contract. You
Yeah,
can still stay anchored, but you can't resist the contracting, because if you resist the contracting, you you aren't clearing out what needs to, because that contraction comes up with an invitation to be looked at and sat with and seen and felt, and then you anchor back in.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And to wrap back to that layer of consciousness that we were talking about earlier, and is the more you anchor back in, the more you do your practice, the sadhana, and expand your life, your ability to hold more, your capacity to hold more, you expand your consciousness. And by expanding your consciousness, you are able to look at life and your entire reality through a different lens. And I think that I've been thinking about this with you specifically, and with Kundalini, is like, we all know about Kundalini being, just this anchoring in and this vibrational. And so many are like, Kundalini, oh, it's a type of yoga. That's one way to look at Kundalini. But for those in the Kundalini circle, we'll refer to Kundalini as a technology. And in a limited frame of consciousness, we, up until now, the majority hear the word technology and we think computer, microchips, like digital programs and software and phones and computers and technology, and it's
it's
only
out there.
electronic.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out there, but in fact,
Right. We are electrical, energetic, physical vessels and physical beings channeling this
it's
energy.
the
This is the
technology.
technology.
Yeah,
And it takes that widening of consciousness to view technology and what technology means through a new lens.
yeah, which is
And
self-empowerment. Which is
yeah.
self-empowerment. Like, I don't want this to have power over me. Like, this is
Mhm.
my technology. This is my tool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a tool you use to create your impact.
But if I want to hold more success, this is a technology that has to be a strong architectural, functional machine. Yeah,
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
love it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let me check and see what's on our list.
I
Ah,
liked what you said too. Like, you've used it a couple times, the word architect,
yeah.
like architects of your own reality, like architects of your own, you're creating your life. You're the architect
Yeah. And
of your life,
it's
creating it by
actually,
design.
well, the one thing that's really helped me about looking at things through this lens is it's less personal. I'm not a bad person. I just have a weaker aura today that I can do I have exercises and sets and kriyas and technologies that I can do to strengthen my
Mhm.
capacity and to strengthen my aura so that I feel clearer in my head and more optimistic in my view. And, I'm stronger and I feel good about what's going on for myself. And,
Mhm.
it's not as nearly as elusive as people tend to think it is. Like when you show up and you try it, then you have experiences and you're like, I see what she means. I feel that, and if there's one thing about Kundalini yoga is that you feel it.
Yes.
Like no one walks out unfelt.
Yes.
You're going to feel something, right? And so then you've got an experience and you'd be like, okay, I understand this experience. So I know it for me, which is what makes it such a beautiful practice, is that it's not anybody giving you anything. It's you deciding you want to show up and create something. Just like you did your inner work and you clicked out of the scene so that you could do your work. You sat down and you processed your stuff and you shared it into the world. And now you've got this beautiful creation as a part of this wonderful community of support. Like how great to be in a multi-author production here.
Yeah. And everything you just described is embodiment. And my argument is that everything that we desire to create, you cannot manifest or create it without becoming fully embodied. And part of the what you described, it's like, I'm not telling you, you sit down and do Kundalini and it's a felt bodily sensation. You are feeling it pulse through your body, move through your body, and you're feeling the physical manifestations of high intensity energy, but also the physical, like, okay, this is hurting. And it's your capacity to hold more comes down to your capacity to stay fully embodied in the entire pendulum swing of feeling and bodily sensation.
Yes. And I think what we forget is that we are creating our reality anyway. And so when I look around and I see problems, when I see broken relationships, or I feel hurt feelings, like those are things that I've created through my subconscious programming, through my karmic path, through my lineage. And like, that's where I'm starting. I'm just starting with what I'm creating right now. And I want to change the trajectory of what I'm creating to something more empowering and loving and beautiful and peaceful, or whatever it is. So, the embodiment is everything, and we're doing it anyway. So it's either making a choice to be more conscious and aware and intentional about it, or to be a little more fate-based and just, kind of take what life is giving you. And I think that, you've lived this really beautiful example of what happens when you stuff the authenticity and disconnect from yourself. What is produced by that isn't necessarily anything you feel really all that satisfied with, and glorious about. And then once you do that healing work and you step back into yourself and you're like, okay, now, I'm embodied in a way that's going to let me really live my dharma and my destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, and it's ongoing. It's never ending. And it's, it's looking at these struggles that come up though. And we can, some people will argue like, well, you're just going to tell me I manifested all of this heartbreak and struggle in this horribly shitty life. You're just going to tell me that I wrote this into my own story, that I wanted this. But it's like, you can say that, but you're like, yes, but this is all part of your soul's evolution. It's all about that awareness, that consciousness, and that ability to pull yourself out and say, what is this here to teach me? What is this here to do for me? Like I wrote it in, not so that I would struggle because I wanted to struggle. I wrote it in so that I could embody it, feel it, and choose whether or not I want to stay in it or transmute that energy and move out of it. Yeah. And then these are the tools to do it while staying fully in your body while you do it, rather than our choosing to run out. Every time we try to numb out, every time we try to distract ourselves, whether it be with drinking or shopping or binge eating or binge watching Netflix, it's like or choosing to distract ourselves or procrastinate. We are self-abandoning. We are distracting ourselves from staying in our body, embodied. And when we can become aware of that, and then we can unattach from that experience that we've labeled as bad. Like we've labeled, oh, I can't, that's bad. But no, it's just an energy. It's just a frequency. Can we just allow ourselves to feel it? And then it just moves, gone, transmutes. Energy just transforms, you
Yeah.
know?
And I mean, when you were talking about not resisting, um, it's like it transforms because you keep it moving. Like if we push
Yes.
it, then it's blocking and it's not going to move. But like letting things kind of have that natural ebb and flow, and even like in the string theory idea, like energy needs to move. It just needs to
Yes.
move. So,
And resistance, I mean, if you think about it, resistance at its core is fear.
yeah,
It's a fear of staying embodied. It's a fear of experiencing that because we've attached meaning by labeling these negative experience as bad,
yeah,
negative experiences or bodily felt sensations as bad.
yeah.
And it's that reframe of mind, that new level of awareness, a new level of consciousness that
Practice,
allows
practice,
you to stay there.
practice, practice, practice.
Practice. Sadhana.
I know. It's teacher training. It's like constantly, how's your sadhana? What's going on in your sadhana? It's like,
Yeah.
really staying committed to that. So people might want to find you, Cassandra, because, you're so compelling and magnetic, and you've got this amazing success in your aura now that you can build from and build with. And like, I see that. What a celebration. Where can we find you? What are you doing other than, first let's talk about where can we find the book? I know I got it on Kindle, on Amazon. I got my Kindle copy and was reading through, got to read your chapter. Yes. And what else? When will it be in hardcover?
So there's still more coming down the pipeline with the Magdalene Rising launch. So we have the hard copy, physical copy available for purchase on Amazon starting July 19th. So right now, yes, it's available on Kindle. And then July 19th, we will be launching the Magdalene Rising Summit. So that the summit begins the 19th and goes all the way through July 30th. So on the 19th, the hard copy will be available. And then every single day, which is in the Magdalene Rising launch party group, is now going to shift into the actual Magdalene Rising Summit group.
Okay.
And starting the 19th, every single day, there will be 3 of the authors from the book featured that are sharing their own masterclass from their unique magic. And it's going to be amazing. So the invitation is to either get your hands on the Kindle now or hold out for the hard copy on the 19th and get into the summit group where you can participate in learning from all the master classes. And
put all those links below. So all those links are going to be in the video.
Yes. And so that being said, my master class will be on July 27th, and it's actually on manifestation and the reality of manifestation and how basically on how becoming fully embodied and achieving emotional mastery is really required to create the epic life that you want. And so I'll be talking about that. But so if you want to look for me on my website is www.cassandrarose.love. And my Instagram handle is exactly the same. It's cassandrarose.love. And on Instagram, I have my link tree, which is where you can get into the launch party group, buy the book on Amazon, discover my website, find all the ways to work with me. Right now, I have an opportunity, and I invite anyone who feels aligned at a soul level to book a free connection call with me to do a deep dive into working one-on-one together and totally expanding your consciousness through embodiment and empowerment and brain reprogramming and neurolinguistic programming and things like that, and spiritual based aromatherapy and all my modalities, right? And Koya.
Oh, yeah.
But to book a call for some transformational manifestation and feminine embodiment coaching.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why. So if you were waiting for a sign, this is your sign. If you were wondering when, today, it's time. And it's an exciting time to kind of be alive and be a part of this wave that's coming forward of feminine empowerment and reclamation. And also, you know, when we heal the feminine, we heal the masculine. So most certainly to our brothers as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a huge piece. That's a huge piece of it, is like you said a little earlier, you're like, this isn't like to like resist or bash the masculine. No, we are, by harnessing the feminine now that's been squashed, bringing that back up allows us to come back into unison, into harmony with them, and be in divine partnership and divine collaboration internally and externally, because our internal world is a reflection.
And I think like when it comes to that, it's good to remember that we are a part of a greater process. It's less personal than we think. Like we're all here bringing through energy, holding light, way showers, light sharers, joy bringers. Like we all have like a divine role for being here and a purpose. And so I'm super grateful and humbled to have spent time with you, because I feel like that's a part of our paths, is for us to crisscross and to be together and to lift each other up and to support each other. It really means a lot to me. And like, congratulations again, like just celebrate. Thank you for all you're bringing forward.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's such an honor, and I'm so grateful to call you my teacher and one of my way showers of wisdom on this path. I mean, it's my time with you over that entire very, very deep dive journey for that year and beyond has been critical in helping shape, and you holding space for me to dive as deep as I did, and as leaders, like I fundamentally believe as leaders that the people that we work with can only go as far as we as leaders are willing to go ourselves, and expand to the capacity of like limitless, to which we're able to. And so cheers to you and everything you've created and all you've walked and all you've become, and the way you have arrived at where you are to now hold space for people like me to follow, because you have committed to your own self-mastery and inner alchemy to be able to hold that capacity for me to unravel in your space. So
there are a lot of people out there, but I think people know when you can feel it, you can hear it from people when they're sharing what they've lived, and it's really, really powerful. So
that authenticity,
and I'm really grateful. All right, namaste, love.
Namaste.
Seekers and sages, look below, grab the links, and thank you so much for following.